Go ahead, leave. You can't last a week without me, Drench. You're nothing without me. No friends, no life, no backbone. You'll come crawling back begging, I promise you that. My wife's words echoed in our bedroom as I stood in the doorway, anniversary flowers crushed in my fist. 24 hours earlier, I'd come home early to surprise her. Instead, I found her with Kyle, her yoga instructor. That wasn't even the worst part. She was wearing the locket I gave her when my mother died. He was wearing my vintage watch, the one I told her was too precious to ever wear. I'm Drench Gary. At least, that's who I've been for the past 8 years. Quiet office worker, dependable husband, forgettable man. But before that, I was someone else entirely. My phone buzzed in my pocket as I grabbed the black duffel bag from the closet. Cinna had never seen it before. Her eyes widened slightly as I unzipped it, catching a glimpse of something metal inside before I pulled out my old fatigues. The caller ID flashed, Captain. I silenced it. 1 week, I said quietly, touching the scar on my wrist. Old habit. Military reflex when stressed. You're right. Let's see what happens in 1 week. Something in my voice made her smile falter. Just for a second. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. The first call I made from my car was to someone I hadn't spoken to in 8 years. Santiago picked up on the second ring. Captain Gary. I flinched. Nobody had called me that since the day I walked away from my uniform. Just Drench now. Bullshit. Once a captain, always a captain. What do you need, brother? Santiago lost both legs finding me after the Kandahar mission. I was the lone survivor of an ambush that killed my entire team. 6 good men dead because I gave the order to split up. I carried that weight every single day until I met Cinna 3 years later. She made me laugh again. She made the nightmares stop. I thought love had healed me. I was wrong. I need your restaurant, I said. The one that's barely breaking even? It's yours. What else? Legal leverage, financial positioning, and Santiago, I need you to keep me from crossing lines I can't come back from. He was quiet for a moment. She hurt you that bad? She said I'm nothing. Then let's remind her who the hell you really are. Day 2. I posted a single photo from the penthouse suite overlooking the city. Just the view, my coffee, and the caption, Day 2. Breathing. Within an hour, my phone exploded with messages. But the only one I cared about was the notification that Cinna had viewed it 17 times. I wasn't actually staying in the penthouse. I was renting it by the hour just for appearances. The real work was happening in the coffee shop across from our apartment, where I sat with my laptop and made calls that would dismantle everything she thought she knew about me. My old commanding officer, Colonel Jenkins, now a divorce attorney, had already filed the papers. You sure about this strategy, Captain? It's psychological warfare. She waged war on our marriage for 2 years, I said, scanning the affair timeline Jenkins had compiled. 4 men before Kyle. 4 men I'd been too trusting to see. I'm just showing her the battlefield. Behind me in that penthouse photo, barely visible in the reflection, stood 3 men in suits. My old team members' brothers. They'd flown in the moment I called. Family takes care of family. Even the broken ones. Day 4. I bought the restaurant where I'd proposed to Cinna 9 years ago. I'd worked double shifts for 6 months to afford her ring. Throughout our marriage, she brought her friends there, made me pay while they laughed about how cheap I was. What she never knew, every time I smiled through their mockery, I was remembering the blood on my hands from Kandahar, the screams of my team over the radio, the 3 days I spent fighting my way through enemy territory alone, so badly wounded I cut off my own dog tags when they caught on barbed wire. Money meant nothing when you've held dying men in your arms. Santiago implemented the plan perfectly. When Cinna and Kyle arrived for dinner that night, her cards declined one by one. The manager, Santiago himself in his wheelchair, rolled up to their table with security. Ms. Gary, this establishment is under new ownership. You're no longer welcome here. Mr. Drench Gary sends his regards. I watched from the private room upstairs through the security cameras. Her face went white. Kyle started sweating. The envelope Santiago handed her contained a single photo. Her and Kyle from last week. Someone had been watching. Someone had been documenting everything. Her phone buzzed as security escorted them out. Kyle's wife was calling. Someone had sent her everything. That someone was me. On her doorstep that night, she'd find dead roses and a note. Day 4. You were wrong about me. D. Day 5 started with a phone call to her boss, Richard Chen. Wait, I can't use Chen. Richard Walsh. I'd invested in the company 3 months ago when I quit my job. Cinna never noticed I'd left. She never asked about my days, my dreams, my demons. Mr. Walsh, this is Drench Gary. I'm activating my majority shareholder rights. I need a personnel review, starting with my wife. By noon, Cinna was demoted to the basement office, the same basement where I used to eat lunch alone while she flirted with coworkers upstairs. Poetic, really. In that office, she'd find a file folder I'd left behind. Inside, evidence of her 2-year affair with Kyle, evidence of 3 other affairs before him, affairs I'd known about for months but ignored, hoping she'd change, hoping the woman I loved was still in there somewhere. My grandfather, General Reynolds Gary, raised me after my parents died. He taught me, true strength is serving others without praise. True wealth is living with purpose. True love is choosing someone every day, even when they don't deserve it, but never at the cost of your dignity. I'd lost my dignity somewhere between the 3rd affair and pretending everything was fine. Her mother called her that afternoon. A lawyer had been asking questions about Cinna's character. Outside her window, a black SUV sat watching. Inside were Santiago's security team. Veterans protecting veterans. Day 6. Cinna tried to find me. She went to my old office and discovered I'd quit 3 months ago. 3 months of coming home late, telling her I was working overtime. I was actually at the Veterans Center, counseling soldiers who'd lost their way like I almost had. She called my phone. Disconnected. I'd changed my number the day I left. She drove to the penthouse from my photo. The concierge stopped her at the door with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Ma'am, Mr. Gary left explicit instructions. You're not permitted on the property. She screamed. She caused a scene. Security arrived, but these weren't regular guards. These were men with military posture, tactical awareness, concealed weapons. One of them, Davis, had served under me in Afghanistan. He looked at Cinna with pure disgust. Ma'am, the captain doesn't want to see you. Through the lobby window, she saw me. I was with Colonel Jenkins, signing papers, divorce papers. Jenkins wore her uniform today, medals gleaming, a reminder of who I used to be, who I still was underneath the disguise of ordinary. Cinna's phone buzzed, photos of Kyle with another woman from the previous night, text from my new number, loyalty is rare, you never had it, neither does he. D. I'd hired a private investigator on day 1. Kyle was cheating on her too. Cheaters always find each other. Day 7. Morning. Kyle left Cinna a note. Your husband is terrifying. I'm going back to my wife. I'd bought her apartment building on day 3. The power outage was scheduled for today, just her unit. A small reminder that the man she called nothing controlled more than she ever realized. But then something unexpected happened. Something that reminded me why I'd fallen for her family, if not for her. Her sister called her, crying. Someone had paid off her $60,000 in student loans. The note said, your sister never helped you, but family should. Drench. Her father called next. A stranger had paid for his surgery. The one Cinna said was too expensive, while she bought designer bags. I'd met Cinna's father before I met her. At a veterans charity event 9 years ago, supporting his brother who died in service. We talked for hours about loss, honor, sacrifice. When I later met Cinna, I assumed she inherited his character. She hadn't, but I still respected him, still respected what he represented. The divorce wasn't about punishing her family. It was about showing her what real character looks like, helping others even when betrayed. The courier arrived with divorce papers and a check for $50,000. More than she deserved, more than she ever gave me. She bypassed security because I told them to let her up. Day 7 was always going to be the confrontation. Cinna burst into the penthouse and froze. The walls were covered with my past. Military commendations, photos of me in uniform, younger, harder, decorated, Newspaper clippings, hero of Kandahar, lone survivor promoted to captain, decorated officer mysteriously retires. Who are you? Her voice cracked. I stood by the window in full dress uniform. I hadn't worn it in 8 years. The weight of it felt like coming home and opening a grave at the same time, someone you never bothered to know. I turned to face her. I gave up everything to be normal for you, Cinna, to be safe, boring Drench, no nightmares, no war stories, no violence. I buried Captain Gary because I thought you wanted a regular man. I pressed a button. A projector lit up the wall. Timeline of her affairs, lies, manipulations. Every person she hurt while I was volunteering at Wounded Warrior Centers, donating to veterans' families, building a life of service while she built a life of betrayal. You said I'm nothing without you, but I was something before you. Her legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair. You didn't break a weak man, Cinna. You betrayed a soldier who loved you enough to bury his past. Why did you leave the military? She whispered. My jaw tightened. The question I'd avoided for 8 years. I lost people, good people, 6 of them, my team. The flashback hit like it always did. Radio static, gunfire, my voice giving the order, split up, evac route Delta. 5 went one way with the diplomat's family. I went the other, creating a diversion. I got them out. My team didn't make it. For 7 years, I blamed myself, drowned in guilt. Until last week, when Cinna said I was nothing, that's when it clicked. Those soldiers died with honor, protecting others. I survived for a reason, not to waste my life with someone who didn't value it. I handed her a folder. Proof of every affair, every manipulation. I could destroy you publicly, ruin your reputation, your career. But I won't. That's not who I am. I pulled out my phone, played a recording from day 1. Her voice, crystal clear. He's so pathetic. I've been cheating for years and he doesn't even notice. I noticed everything, Cinna. I chose to believe in you. That was my mistake. Colonel Jenkins entered. The papers are ready, Captain. Cinna looked up, tears streaming. What papers? You signed a prenup. I'm keeping everything I built. You get what you brought into this marriage. Nothing. So what, you're rich now? Cinna laughed bitterly. This is revenge? I shook my head. I was always wealthy. Military pension, investments. My grandfather left me $4.2 million when he died 3 years ago. Her face went pale. Every time you called me cheap, I was donating to veterans' families. Every time you mocked my boring job, I was volunteering. Every dollar I wasted on your father's surgery, your sister's loans, that was me choosing honor over your validation. I opened my laptop. The restaurant? Bought it for Santiago, my spotter who lost his legs saving my life. Your company? Invested to hire veterans they kept rejecting. This penthouse? Temporary rental. I'm building a veterans housing facility. This was just for show. You did all this in 1 week? She whispered. No. I've been doing this for years. You just never asked about my life. Never asked why I had nightmares, why I flinched at fireworks, why I had a scar on my wrist from cutting off my dog tags while bleeding out in enemy territory. I pulled out my grandfather's letter, the one I'd carried for 3 years. If you're ever with someone who makes you feel small, remember, you survived what would break most men. The only thing I did this week was stop hiding who I am to make you comfortable. Colonel Jenkins placed the divorce papers on the table. Sign these. You'll have enough to start fresh. Everything else stays with Captain Gary. Cinna's hand trembled. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'll change. Give me another chance? I'd heard those words before. In Kandahar, in the hospital, in my nightmares. Please, Captain, one more chance. But the dead don't get second chances. You said I couldn't last a week without you. It's been 7 days. I haven't thought about coming back once. I've slept better, eaten better, remembered who I was before I dimmed my light for someone who couldn't appreciate it. Please, Drench, I love you. I closed my eyes. You love what I provided. You never loved me. If you loved me, you would have asked about my scars, my team, why their names are tattooed on my wrist now. She looked down. 6 names in fresh ink where my scar used to be visible. If you loved me, you wouldn't have needed other men. If you loved me, you would have seen the hero you married instead of the victim you created. I walked to the door, opened it. Sign the papers. Find someone who matches who you are, because I deserve someone who matches who I am. She signed. I walked out. Didn't look back. 6 months later, the facility opened. Free housing for homeless veterans, full medical support, job training. Everything I'd dreamed of building while sitting in that basement office, pretending to be someone I wasn't. The photo went viral. Me cutting the ribbon alongside Major Isabella Rivera, widow of my teammate who died in Kandahar. We'd reconnected at a veterans memorial. She understood the nightmares, the guilt, the weight of surviving when others didn't. She was wearing the locket, the one I'd given Cinna. Isabella's husband had given it to me before the mission, asked me to give it to his wife if he didn't make it. I never could, until someone who understood what it meant. We announced our engagement that day. My phone buzzed. Cinna had seen the post. I sent one final text. You were right about one thing. I couldn't survive being who you wanted me to be, but I thrived being who I actually am. Thank you for the push I needed. Captain Gary. In the comments, Kyle wrote, "Dodged a bullet, brother. She did the same to me." I replied, "I know. I sent your wife the evidence. Real recognizes real." Santiago rolled up beside me. "Feel better, Captain?" I looked at the facility, at Isabella, at the future I'd built from ashes. "I feel free,"